Reddit, what is your craziest dorm story? I actually have a few, but one stands out. In my senior year, we had smaller rooms, so you had your own room with no roommate. Usually on weekend evenings, the place was always empty, as most students either went home or went out as students do. I was too broke to do neither, but the guy across my room wasn't. He was a serious boozer. This one such occasion, he calls me to his room rambling incoherently about how his life was a mess. I was a bit annoyed because I was like, dude, just sleep it off, I'm not in the mood for a chat, especially when you are drunk and I'm sober. I then realized that he was saying last words kind of stuff like, I'm sorry, you have been a good mate. I was like, shit dude, WTF. He had a handful of Valium tablets and was planning to commit suicide. So I grab his hand just in time and we wrestle around his room for a while, with him trying to swallow the pills and me trying to take them off him and screaming for help. 20 to 30 minutes pass, no one turns up, and by now we are in the corridor still at it. He was quite strong for his size. I knew there was another friend down the corridor who was in his room, but he was getting laid, so we probably thought we were just drunk and having a play fight. We will call him KK. I managed to drag him all the way down the corridor in front of KK's room, kicked in KK's door, like f***ing messes up the whole thing. F***ing KK comes out like he wants to kill somebody. He soon figures out what's up, and together we pinned this dude down and took all the pills he had. We went back to his room and cleared everything we could find. This dude was a nursing student and had a polypharmacy in his closet. We then left him to sleep it off. I checked up on him the next morning and he was still alive. KK and I decided to keep it to ourselves, and nothing was ever said about what happened and why. He never said anything either, and we just went on like nothing happened. That was 12 years ago. He is happily married with 2 kids now. I later found out that he had gotten someone pregnant and he panicked. He actually married that girl. So yeah, I stopped a guy from killing himself in college. Sorry for the wall of text, wrote this on the train on my way home. Just thought I'll share. I was visiting a friend at another school for the first time. He and I were planning on smoking until we walked into his dorm room and saw a girl on his bed in labor. We were both speechless until his roommate came running back from the bathroom with a wet towel and said, "Don't freak out. Don't freak out." The girl turned out to be the roommate's sister who lived nearby and was visiting. She went into labor a few weeks early, so everyone was thrown off guard. They eventually took an ambulance to the hospital, and once they were gone we saw that she was sitting on my friend's bed when her water broke. We ended up cleaning up the mess for a while, then smoked like never before in order to get the image of a total stranger screaming her lungs out of our heads. My brother's frat flooded the 2nd floor in the winter. They laid down plastic sheeting and then opened all the windows. It froze and was a badass indoor ice skating for a few days. Then the 2nd floor collapsed through the 1st floor into the basement. They lost their charter. It's a miracle nobody died. My roommate was this geeky 400-pound guy who watched Sailor Moon in the original Japanese. He had a tiny red-headed girlfriend who regularly beat the shit out of him in daily life, and he let her. On like 6 p.m. on a Thursday, he suddenly asks me if I can vacate the dorm room until 11, as they're going to have some romantic time. I was a little pissed he gave me no warning, but left anyways. Get back at midnight and walk into a scene of her in black vinyl bondage gear with a riding crop and a taxi driver's hat, riding him, with him covered in welts from head to toe. Noped the hell right out of there. My friend and I decided we would prank a mutual friend, and so we bought glow-in-the-dark paint. We snuck into his dorm room while he was in class and painted giant dicks all over his dorm walls and ceiling. I'm talking like 8-foot dicks that are curving onto every corner of the room, jizzing all over the ceiling. It was just a wall of big ugly fat cocks coming everywhere. Luckily the paint dried on clear on the white walls, and when our friend went to bed that night, let's just say he definitely hated us. The paint really never came off, so him and his roommate, who hated us, had to sleep the rest of the semester gazing into the galaxy of. When I was in college, my freshman year, I was dormed on the same floor with the entirety of the soccer team. I was told that they throw a party on the floor every time they win a game, so lock my door on game nights. Soccer started up, but they never threw a party, so I assumed our team just sucked hardcore. One night I was getting back from drinks and pool, billiards, not swimming, late into the soccer season, and hear music on my floor. I guess they won. When the elevator doors opened, there was music blasting, but no one in the lobby, so I assumed they were just holding it in some of their rooms or something. I went to my dorm room and grabbed some stuff to take a shower, then went to the communal unisex bathroom. When I got in there, I realized the party was in the bathroom. There was probably 30 to 40 people in there partying, and no one was really clothed. Most wore towels around their waists, and some girls were just straight up naked and drinking out of solo cups. They had huge speakers set up on the sink counter. People were hooking up in the stalls. Mostly because I was already tipsy from hanging out with my friends, I decided to take a shower during their party anyways. I got past everyone and got in an empty shower stall and started washing up as quick as my wobbly self could. Before I could finish, a cute girl wearing just a towel around her waist and exposing her breast opens the curtain and sees me, and just giggles and jokes about how I'm actually showering during a party. I found out months later her name was Claire. She told me she'd washed my back and started rubbing my back, but didn't use soap and accidentally crushed her solo cup in her hand and on my back, pouring beer all over my back. While she is doing this, someone called for her and she shouted that she was showering with Kevin. I'm not Kevin or look anything like either Kevin from the soccer team. A group of 2 guys and a girl come over, and when they see me, they tell her I'm not Kevin, but she's not believing them. After like 2 minutes of arguing, they just start calling me New Kevin and offer me a shot. I took a shot with them. The girl who thought I was Kevin grabbed my dick and asked if I could make it move. Then her friends pulled her away and told her, for real, that's not Kevin. They got her back to her dorm room after that. During this whole time, I was almost completely silent except for telling her I'm not Kevin and accepting the shot. The people I took a shot with were all from my floor, and the guys called me New Kevin for the rest of the year when they saw me. The girl who was with the guys just gave me dirty looks when we saw each other, and Claire just avoided me in embarrassment until I switched to a nicer dorm. I was one of only like 3 freshmen on my floor. The rest were sophomore guys who all knew each other really well from their first year in high school and chose to live together in the dorm that year. The other 2 floors were female. One of the sophomores down the hall had his girlfriend in town for Halloween from another college, and as the night went on and people were just all over the place partying, it got pretty rowdy. At one point fairly early in the night, the room across from me got a lot of attention as it basically sounded like a porno going down. Lots of, well, you all know the dumb stuff porn chicks say, and obvious sex pounding on crappy dorm beds going down. Basically all of us were drunk and laughing outside the room enjoying the show, until we realized the guy from down the hall couldn't find his girlfriend. It was so crazy and sad at the same time, as the dude just sat there outside the room with tears in his eyes. They had been together since high school. To make matters worse, his friends tried to console him by saying how they know she'd hooked up with a bunch of other guys and never told him. Poor dude was crushed. On the bright side, he just sold his startup for 7 figures, so there's that. First story, we turned the bathroom into a sauna/slip and slide room. We plugged the shower drains and blocked the part with the toilets with sandbags because we didn't want the water getting over there and getting toilety. We then turned the showers on and flooded the bathroom and partied. Eventually our RA walked in, looked at what we were doing, and promptly left since if he saw it he would have had to stop it. Second story, someone played a prank on our dorm by releasing a duck on our floor, the 3rd floor. The campus police were called so they took the duck away. I forget who did it, but when questioned as to how they said, I walked up to the duck, put it in a box, and walked away with it. My freshman year I worked in addition to being in school. It was a Saturday night and I was scheduled to work very early the next morning, so I figured I'd shower that night so I could sleep a little bit later. I go into the showers on my floor, turn on the light, pull back the curtain, and I see every single guy on my floor standing together in the same shower stall. All of them completely clothed and standing in complete silence. Each of them had a red plastic cup filled with ping pong balls. As soon as they saw me, each of them screamed and ran like bloody hell out of there. I never knew what the that was about. In the late 70s/early 80s, Illinois State built a brand new dorm building where the rooms all had 2 closets, one on each side wall. But because they built the dorm on the cheap, the backs of the closets didn't have real walls, only thin pieces of pressboard. That was all that was separated one dorm room from the next. Once students figured this out, they cut big holes in the pressboard so that you could get to the adjoining dorm room by opening the closet door and scooting through the hole in the back wall. They did this in room after room, until they had effectively built a huge secret passageway connecting every single dorm room on the floor. The creation of this secret passageway led, almost immediately, to a culture of endless, enormous, authority-proof dorm parties. As soon as anybody knocked on the door or the party room, everybody could bail through the closets and be 7 doors down the hall by the time the RA or campus security were let in. Or they would keep all the alcohol and whatnot in one room, and have all the people in the next. So even when the RAS knew there was a ginormous party happening, they couldn't do jack shit about it. It was total non-stop chaos. Some of the bigger hooligans would commit all manner of mischief on campus, and then hightail to this dorm building, knowing that once they were safely inside any room, there was no way the cops could ever find them. Every summer, the school would replace the ripped-out pressboard with sturdier and sturdier material, but students just got stronger saws and kept rebuilding the secret passageways year after year. Eventually, only a few years after they built it, the school gave up and tore the building down.